with an emotional road win and a lot of other stuff that happened after the game, we have to move forward. And the Jaguars are going to do that at 3-1. We'll talk about that today on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
That is absolutely correct. It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast that you can find wherever you get your podcast. Just make sure you tap into that location each and every day so you do not miss an episode like the one you're listening to that is brought to you by FanDuel right now. New customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Shout out to the everydayers that join us each and every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We appreciate it. We don't try to waste your time. And if you're new here, we will welcome you in just like you're an everydayer and give you a chance to come back and holler at us each and every day. Been a credential member of the Jags media for about 2 decades now, so we have our finger on the pulse of the team, and we try to give you all of the information you need to fan the way that you want to, especially now that the Jaguars are 3-1. And our show today is basically going to talk about how we move forward. We'll talk in the third segment about health, hope, and harmony. It's a lot of things. 2 of those things they have. The other thing that we hope they have. Right in the middle of the show, takeaways and forecast on the need to do's, the things that we think that they need to do in order to get to where they want to go. And they're super, super focused on that. We'll start at the very top about moving forward after week 4. One that was extremely emotional. It was extremely emotional. The Jaguars break their West Coast curse with a 26-21 victory over the 49ers. Trevor Lawrence answered some questions late in the game when it comes to feeling the deal in the moment. Brian Thomas Jr. got back on stride. Travis Hunter had a big-time catch that really kept a drive going for the Jags and showed that he has ability. Parker Washington continued to live up to the things that he has shown throughout training camp this year and earned more reps. The offensive line, the story of the offensive line continues to develop. They did not allow Trevor to get hit, they provided more traction for the running game to get going with Travis Etienne having a big-time game the other day. And Devin Lloyd in the cast of characters on defense, man, a lot to look forward to. Most people wanted to, focus on the emotions of the game and Liam Cohen's response to some shade that was thrown at him. But we addressed all of that yesterday in the press conference yesterday. Liam said, hey, man, we're moving forward. I got respect for a lot of people. We're all competitors. And I sort of mentioned that yesterday, although I put my Duval boxing gloves on and had to fight off a lot of people that didn't really understand what that was all about and what it meant to fans and what it meant to us and why those things are lined up. But we're going to get past that. But I did want to congratulate you, the fans and the everydayers, because that episode was really big yesterday. And that shows me that you care just as much as I do. I appreciate all of the attaboys that I got, if you will, pats on the back. Y'all know that ain't why I do it, but I will acknowledge it when it happens. Therefore, I have something for you for the start of this show. It's a gift. I'm not trying to top what we did yesterday on a brilliant episode. I call it brilliant. I mean, a brilliant response to the episode and the hard work that I did. They're 3-1, 1-0 in the division, tied atop the division with the Indianapolis Colts, who are a surprise team and are playing a lot better than we expected. The Houston Texans are still like a rattlesnake who's still moving around now. We still got to watch them because they're super talented. And remember, they were driving to tie the Jaguars up here. We still got to see them. They're still trying to get themselves together. I'm not making too much out of their win the other day because they beat the Titans. And that's where I'm going to sit here and park and give y'all this gift. I host another show, Locked On NFL. We'll do the promo for it later on. Locked On NFL. There's 2 shows. One of them in the morning, one in the afternoon. It's Tyler Rowland in the morning, the Madman, and then me in the barbershop, right? But Tyler Rowland also hosts Locked On Titans. Tyler and I, we're really good friends. I want y'all to know that. We really are. Y'all seen us going back and forth, kind of like Liam and Robert Saleh before on social media. Sometimes I ain't proud of the things that I do, and I have to apologize for him. But Tyler's my guy, man. And he put out a short yesterday that we used on Locked On NFL, and I thought there's no better way to start this show than giving the Jaguar fans some comic relief. And I even texted him and asked him, could I do it? I didn't have to, but I kind of did, just out of, and he was a good sport about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jacksonville Jaguars fans, the Titans are 0-4, and it's even worse than that. And I'm going to give you a gift today before we start talking about what we got to do. The only reason I'm doing this, well, it ain't the only reason I'm lying. I would say the only reason I'm doing this is because we got to play them twice. And we can't take them for granted because we saw Cleveland beat Green Bay. And you know, we saw teams upset teams that they shouldn't have upset. And that ain't why I'm doing it. I'm doing it strictly so y'all can have something to laugh at. Here is my man Tyler Rowland talking about the division bottom feeders right now, the Tennessee Titans. And he ain't lying. He's telling the absolute truth. This is the first time y'all going to agree with me. And y'all be getting on Tyler's nerves and telling me, man, I can't stand Tyler. I told you, no, it's just about fandom. It's just about fandom. I want you to hear what your opponent, your ops, are going through right now while the Jaguars have a resurgent franchise. This is my friend Tyler Rowland from Locked On Titans.
I don't even have it in me to be mad anymore. Seriously, my anger tank is on zero. I'm just sad. I'm just disappointed. This is by far the worst football team I've ever seen. Like, this is the worst Titans team that I will ever see. This team is not going to win a game. Like, there is a very high chance that this football team does not win a single game all year. And I got to tell you guys, I know the Titans don't want to fire Brian Callahan. I know that Amy doesn't want to look temperamental and quick-triggered and all of that different stuff. But what choice has this football team left them now? Like, there is no way that you can get beat by 21 by the Colts, come back and then get beat by almost 30 by this Texans team and not fire Brian Callahan. Like, there's simply no way around it. And look, again, my anger tank is on zero. I don't have any anger left. I am just in dismay, just completely deflated. And at this point, again, there's just no other course that the Titans can take but to fire Brian Callahan. He has forced you to do it. Brian Callahan has forced their hand. He must be fired. It's just, I don't know. I'm sure you guys feel the same. I'm just at a loss for words at this point to explain in different ways how terrible this football team is.
All right, so look, I did a soliloquy yesterday about low-hanging fruit and about how people always pick on the Jaguars just unsolicited. And I meant every word of that, right? And y'all know I've been a grief counselor over the years, and I've been able to try to articulate what is going on. So Tyler did a very, very good job. There's only one thing I disagree with, but I'll get to that in just a second. The reason why I'm showing this is not to have low-hanging fruit. It's to become what I despise. It is not to kick somebody when they're down. It is to show you the great analysis that comes across the Locked On Podcast Network, even from people that we don't always agree with. The only thing I disagree with, I don't think they need to fire Brian Callahan. I think Brian Callahan is a hell of a coach. He's a heck of a coach for that franchise. So Tyler, you know, y'all ain't used to being down there in the dungeon like us. I'll just give you some advice. Man, just be patient. You got to be patient with Callie, man. You can't be trying to get rid of him. So y'all don't be kicking Tyler when he's down. Y'all actually give him props for saying how bad the Titans are and having the nerve and having the strength to admit that in front of everybody. I know I am happy. That is my brother, and I love him to death, and I appreciate his work, and you guys ought to appreciate it too. And that's why I wanted to share it with you. All right, now we're going to move along and talk about ourselves because we ain't going to make this about nobody else. We're going to get to the Jaguars and talk about takeaways from what they have done so far and what they got to do moving forward. We'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Mizzen and Main. You know the saying, look good, feel good. The problem is that most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. They look sharp but feel stiff, hot, and high maintenance. That's where Mizzen and Main comes in. Mizzen and Main makes classic men's wear with performance fabrics, so it's effortless to look sharp and feel comfortable. They actually invented the performance fabric dress shirt over 10 years ago, and they perfected it ever since. Now, getting a little older, got a little, extra around in some spots. It ain't as tight as it used to be. That's why you need to wear comfortable clothes to make you look good. And if you, like me, you're always trying to do that. Right now, Mizzen and Main is offering our listeners 20% off your first purchase at mizzenandmain.com with promo code LOCKEDONNFL20. That's Mizzen, spelled M-I-Z-Z-E-N, and Main, M-A-I-N.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNFL20, the number 20 for 20% off. And if you'd rather shop in person, you can find Mizzen and Main stores in selected states. And today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. That is right, man. FanDuel is the absolute truth. And y'all know y'all should be on it already, man, getting you some money because they got some stuff for you this year, as they always do. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I do it all the time, man, and I'm telling you, you can watch your team lose but still win because you're smart enough to not think that they were going to win when you put your money down. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Remember, $5, your first bet. If you win, $300 in bonus bets on FanDuel. All right, we're going to move along and mind the business that pays us here on Locked On Jaguars and talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. One of the takeaways is we're all waiting with bated breath to find out what the diagnosis or prognosis is for Trayvon Walker, the Jaguars, one of the Jaguars' best players on defense. Left the game in the first half with an apparent wrist injury. Saw a specialist yesterday, I believe, out in California in Beverly Hills. And we're waiting. Liam Cohen says he's going to take a look at it. We're not going to try to diagnose or play doctor here, right? I kind of suggested that maybe if it's something with the hand, they could put a club or something on it and he could play with it. We've seen guys. That's just me. That's just me talking. And of course, I did reach out to somebody and say with hand injuries, what usually happens. It depends on what it is. He's not a quarterback. And if there's a guy who's tough enough to play through those type of things, it's Trayvon. So we'll talk more about the health. But from a strategic standpoint, it does matter because this week's opponent and opponents after that is going to get tougher for the Jacksonville Jaguars. One reason is because people are going to see things on tape. And what they're going to see on tape is guys that play 100 miles per hour, I always say, like with their feet on fire on defense. And one of the ways teams can attack and slow down an aggressive defense that does like that is a bunch of misdirection, trying to control the ball, tire them out, keep them on the field for a long time. So you can anticipate a heavy dose of that as the depth continues to get put into play. A lot of people want to see BJ Green. Somebody said they want to see BJ Green start. I don't think it works like that. I don't think you could skip the dudes that are on the depth chart, the veterans that are behind them. I'd rather see Dawon Smoot in there. If you watch the game the other day, Dawon Smoot played very well. But they're going to miss something, obviously, with Trayvon. So takeaways up to this point, they're 3-1. For a lot of people, that was the realistic best case scenario, especially when they saw Houston on the schedule early, figuring the Jaguars would have to get used to a new system. And then they had to go on the road to Cincinnati too. Nobody anticipated Joe Burrow being injured and definitely didn't anticipate their backup. Regardless of what happened a couple of years ago, guys are back up for a reason. And you saw that now. Cincinnati is like one of the worst teams in the league. In fact, the Locked On Bengals guy, I used Jake Liskow, one of them anyway. James Rapine is the other one. He proclaimed that they are the worst team in the league, even worse than the Titans and the Jets. I don't think that, but I do believe that you look back at that game now with the fact that the Bengals have been absolutely atrocious the last couple of weeks, and you realize the Jaguars let one get away. And that's why these things happen. And when folks tell me on online and they respond on the podcast and even in the comments sometime and say, oh, we'll be fine, it's just one game. You can't let games get away, especially the ones that you're supposed to win. And now that is coming up as a game that they are absolutely supposed to win. Can you imagine how much euphoria this fan base will be in if they were 4-0 right now? People will be talking about them all differently, but we don't really care what anybody says unless it's something bad, of course. But the thing is every little single thing matters. So what I hope this does is I hope that game kind of sticks in their ribs a little bit. And it's like, God, we could have been there. So they don't have regrets. And that's the main thing I don't want them to let fester. But I also don't want them to go use it as motivation. Use it as, man, we can't take any plays off. We can't take anything for granted. We have to stop when things start going bad. Coach Cohen yesterday on his Zoom with the media, he talked about it. He said we have the highest of highs, and when we're playing well, it looks really, really good. And I'm paraphrasing him now. But then those lows come, and you expect some of them, but then it's like it just keeps going and keeps going. And you've seen that with the Jags over the years. The silver lining is they're always, unlike in the past, they're always able to say, wait a minute, we can do something about this. And that's the silver lining with this team. The fact that they make all of those big plays early, and then they get into this little shell, and it starts with the QB, and then some guys on defense with missed assignments or miscommunications. The missed tackles haven't bothered me as much this year as they have in the past. Those pre-snap penalties get on my nerves. Now, no one likes penalties at all, but you don't really think about the penalties that they get when guys are playing hard and trying their best. And, you might touch a guy's face mask here, or, you might drag a guy out of bounds too late, because those are things that they're doing when they're trying, right? And coaches don't get mad. The ones that make me upset are the delay of games. Did they have a delay of game after a delay of game? I think they had a delay of game, then had to call a timeout because they were about to get another one. And it's those type of things, and especially when they make a play on the other end. And as soon as you see the flag and you see the other team pointing the other way, it starts to get on your nerves. There are teams that have been great in college and in the NFL that were the most, or some of the most penalized teams in the National Football League. But those are those other penalties I'm talking about, not the ones that are self-destructive and unforced. And the good thing about this team is the communication between Liam Cohen and obviously between his team and his coaches. But the fact that he was relaying that to the media yesterday, and he said, it's on me. And that's a level of accountability that we have all been crying for, because there's no guessing. There's no finger pointing. There's no CYA. You know what that means. Cover your own, you know what. There's no passing of the buck. The coach said, it's on me and us as coaches, and we have to do a better job of getting them ready. And that alone tells you that this is not the same old Jaguars, that these aren't the same Jaguars, and that they have an expectation to get better. We'll continue to discuss the need to do's and then talk about what I call the 3 H's for this show: health, hope, and harmony. Discuss that in just a second here on Locked On NFL, Locked On Jaguars, not Locked On NFL. I'm getting my shows twisted. Locked On Jaguars. All right, man. I hope you're ready. When I say I hope you're ready, I mean I hope you are ready for Reid ready. What do you get when you have a bald eagle standing on top of a silverback gorilla riding a T-Rex? Confidence, pure confidence. If you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Reid Go Long. Guys, you probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to go long with Reid Go Long. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula, so you can get hard and go the distance. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to RUGIET.com and use the promo code Locked On NFL for 15% off your first order. That's Rugiet, RUGIET.com, promo code Locked On NFL. Make sure to use our code so they know we're the ones that sent you. All right, I mentioned Locked On NFL, your show twice a day on the Locked On NFL channel. Tyler Rowland wakes you up in the morning, my man, who we heard from in the first segment. He wakes you up in the morning like a double shot of espresso, and then I come through in the barbershop. What we do, we both use clips from local experts from our network, from around the network, to give you an idea and a glimpse and really take the pulse of what's going on, not only with the teams in your division, but around the National Football League. And then we do it also with a different host each and every day, a recurring host each and every day that sits in with us. We have great chemistry with all of these guys. And it allows you to see all of the hard work that we do around the network to give you a macro view of Locked On NFL. Make sure you tap into that wherever you get your podcasts, whether you watch or listen. All right, health. We talked about Trayvon Walker. We're hopeful, extremely hopeful. It doesn't sound like Liam Cohen was worried about anything too extensive with that. Cam Little is not banged up. He's not going through anything mentally, according to Liam Cohen. I asked him yesterday about maybe them not kicking as soon as they crossed the 50-yard line, the fact that we all got spoiled with a 70-yarder and thought that that would be a weapon. It just hasn't manifested itself yet. Doesn't mean that it won't, but we'll see. They could be in a situation where they run out of time before the half, or it's a game-ending situation, and they have to try to kick that. And I still believe he is extremely capable. Liam said that the team, or Coach Cohen said that the team, he is still super, super confident. Nothing has changed with Cam. He's fine. It was really, really windy out with the 49ers, and he nailed it. He nailed the kick 2 weeks in a row. He just kind of misjudged it a little bit, like a golf swing. Guys aren't going to always be perfect, and both kicks were outside. So there's a lot that goes into making sure the snap, the hold, all of that stuff that goes into getting those kicks right. So we're still patient with Cam Little. I think there were a lot of people that thought I wasn't, only because I was just over the top ecstatic about the potential of him being able to kick the ball from anywhere. And I just wanted to pull back on it a little bit and not put too much pressure on him, because now when I get back to saying we still have a good kicker, there are a lot of folks that think that I was beating up on the kid, and I really, really wasn't. We'll talk about that later, how certain people have a listening issue sometimes. But that being said, hope is provided because of the offensive line. They have shown that they can dominate games. They can keep their quarterback clean. Doesn't mean they're going to play perfect all the time. But listen, man, when you have been watching this team and pulling for this team for, I can't even tell you how long, maybe back since 2017, maybe the Bengals are the only team that I can tell you, or the Titans, well, that's two, that have offensive lines over that span that have been as bad as the Jaguars or worse. But still, that's not good enough. Now it is. And there are a lot of people that had a lot of questions about the additions on the line that said that we went out and got a bunch of journeymen and all of this. No, they went out and got a bunch of guys that they knew could help this football team improve and get better. Is it perfect? No. But I will tell you this, Anton Harrison is playing at a Pro Bowl level. Walker Little's been decent. And from guard to guard, meaning guard, center, guard, they've been lights out. There's some people that believe Ezra Cleveland is the best offensive lineman on this team. I ain't willing to go that far. That's probably because I was wondering about Ezra Cleveland, but he has been very, very good. And Cole Van Lannon and Chuma Edoga came in the game the other day and played very well. James Hainsey is the dude, though, man. Hainsey was like a bodyguard the other day with Liam on the field. And he's been like a bodyguard. And you watch the tape and you see some of these runs and even some of those short passes, the screen passes when guys are able to get out. James Hainsey is 20 yards down the field knocking the hell out of people. My wife even looked at the game and said, like, who the hell is 73 falling all over people out there? I said, yeah, that's what you want. So it shows a guy who's in tip-top shape, shows a guy who gets it, knows how to move his feet, and can really get out in space and block. And when you have good offensive line play, that is going to bode well for you, especially in short yardage. on play action, all of those things. So if they get rid of the penalties, I think the offensive line will be great. And they aren't the ones who are doing it, by the way, for the most part. It's been a lot of alignment stuff that really, really has to get fixed. I'm going to shout out Devon Hamilton too, man. Devon Hamilton graded out really, really well the other day. That's another player and that people thought and were wondering if he was going to get back to his pre-illness condition and playing status that he suffered not last year, but the year before that when he had to try to get back. And last year he was trying to find himself. Well, he's found himself because he's making himself some money too because he's playing extremely well. I think Joshua Hines-Allen is being who he is as a great leader and tempo setter in terms of work ethic on a daily basis and one of the top pressure getters in the league. Even though the sacks aren't there, football people know that pressure is a more important statistic sometimes than sacks. Eric Armstead is back inside, has 2 sacks. Lots of people wondered if he was going to get back to being who he is. The jury's still out on how people feel about Tyson Campbell, but that's okay. I think that's going to happen often. I think he's probably playing better than a lot of us are giving him credit for. The last thing I'll talk about is the harmony of the whole thing. These guys are absolutely in sync with each other. And just like Jacksonville, they weren't perfect. They didn't have to be. We used to always talk about Blake. Blake wasn't perfect. But he was a part of the fabric, the DNA, and the identity of Jacksonville. Trevor is a more talented version of a dude that is kind of morphing into that because the one thing that he's shown you is that he is a gamer. He is a lot more gamer than we expected. So all of that hair blowing in the wind, Prince of Promise, that didn't never represent Duval anyway. Duval liked a tough dude. I mean, we like people that get bruises on their elbows and fall off skateboards when they're kids and got scuff marks on their knees from playing on the monkey bars. That's just who we are. And Trevor is morphing into a dude that's just like that. Y'all got to remember, Trevor from Middle Georgia, man. Trevor's from Middle Georgia. Trevor tougher than y'all gave him credit for. Just like I told y'all our coach was tough, I think our quarterback is starting to show a little toughness too. He even ran the ball a couple of times the other day for first downs and used his body to get those first downs on short yardage situations. So there's hope. And we want him to get a little bit healthy. There's hope. And then there's harmony. Everybody's on the same page. I would love to be a fly on the wall in those meetings, man, because I know everybody is sitting up with their pens, their pads, their pencils, and they are studying because of the leadership. When you think about the guys' defense, I've talked about Hainsey and I've talked about Trevor and the way ETN is playing and the wide receivers, how they rallied around Brian Thomas Jr., how Travis Hunter, despite all of the hype, is out there blocking like a maniac on running plays. And that means everybody is playing football and putting all of this other stuff aside. And then you look on defense, you think Foye Oluokun, and then you think Devin Lloyd, and of course, Jordan Lewis. Y'all know how much I love J. Lou as a football player, as a human being too. And Trayvon, they have the type of people, I'm not going to forget Dewey. They have the type of people on this team, in my opinion, that are going to continue to prove, that aren't going to rest on their laurels at 3-1 and going to continue to get better. And mark my word, we will discuss this more as the week goes on because we have our crossover with Kansas City coming on Thursday. I think Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and the Chiefs here on Monday night are in for a dogfight. You hear me? I think they're in for a dogfight. This is a tough bunch all the way from the coaching staff, all the way down to the last player on the team. And that means grit. Tom Coughlin spoke it into existence in 2016. It showed up in 17 and disappeared, kind of popped his head back in 2022. Or was it 23? Yeah, it was 2022. But now it's not one of those things that's going to come and go because it's not something you're hoping for. It is what you are. Just like your character and integrity, it's not like you leave your character integrity at home. You leave your keys, you leave your wallet, you turn around and go get it. Your character, your football integrity and all of that stuff should be something that goes with you every place that you go. And this is the type of team that I think this city can be proud of because whether they win or lose, you know that they ain't gonna never, ever quit. And that is the biggest thing moving forward. Now, we want it to manifest into wins. We'll just have to see if it's going to do that moving forward. We've got more coverage for you all week long. a midweek report coming up tomorrow, and then our crossover, and then we'll get you ready for a big game this weekend. We appreciate you spending 30 minutes with us here on Locked On Jaguars. We do not take you for granted, and we will see you next time.